David.
Mike, when you have a performance like that, which is an outlier to everything else you've done up to this point, how do you handle it from this point forward? Do you handle it as an outlier, or do you say there's some things that were leading up to this? Or?
Well, I mean, there's always a path or a trend line that you follow that may illustrate that because it isn't like we've been perfect. I mean, we've won football games, but stand up here every week and talk about the opportunity for improvement. So we didn't improve yesterday as a football team, stating the obvious, but no, we went through the process just like we did every Monday. So they came in, they had their 3-hour block to lift and watch the offense, defense, and special teams, and I just finished with the team meeting. So spent a little more time in the team meeting than normal, and just make sure it was thoroughly corrected.
What was the focus of the team meeting? I mean,
I'm sorry?
What was the focus of the team meeting? Was it the mental errors? Was it the energy? What was it?
Well, mental errors wasn't very. I mean, if you look at traditional, stats of mental errors per game, we're actually below the goal. So, the mental part of it wasn't a assignment alignment. Mental, the decision making, which you normally have, was maybe a tad higher than you like, So, yeah, but our technique grades and time clocks, fits, finish, those were the common repeated mistakes that we made throughout the game.
Some of your players said the practices have not been up to par the last 2 weeks. How can that be corrected going forward?
Well, they're slightly off. Talked about that today, and my experience has always been in November, December, particularly because this is the point where the younger players should be up to speed. So we need to start practicing some of our younger guys a little more than we did the last couple of weeks. Your veteran players that are up there in years, particularly like a Zach Martin, on Wednesdays, he doesn't need to take as many team reps. So, as you transition into that period, you just can't have the drop off. So that's an emphasis of what I talked a little bit about today, but we'll definitely, when we reconvene on Wednesday, will be part of our focus.
Coach, other than yesterday, you guys have had a lot of success as a team, 6-2. Do you talk to some of your younger guys, because obviously you have a lot of young guys on this team, about how to handle success and just the fact that a lot of teams are chasing you guys, it's kind of one of those things where, maybe some guys have some trouble just handling that.
Well, we talked to the whole team about handling success, but the big thing with the younger players, and it's one of the reasons why we continue with the young player meetings, is just to make sure that they're always getting through this is the first time for this or first time for that. So hitting it, just make sure they understand the why. Because I think it's very easy for a young player just to get in here and follow the schedule and do what's set on the schedule, but understanding why we do everything and how it all is put together is a big part of their development. And I think this is the time of year when you see younger players really starting to figure out some ahead of others. Mike has been very productive. He's had a lot of opportunities, so he's obviously ahead of some of the other guys.
What are the first couple of things you see in terms of trying to clean up the defensive performance?
The first couple things on the defensive performance. I think the biggest thing on defense was our finish. We're in our pad level, as far as yesterday's performance. But, we didn't get as many hits on the ball. Our tackling, our missed tackles was way up. We lost the tackling battle. The tackling battle is obviously how many broken tackles versus how many missed tackles. So I would say those are the things we needed to correct.
Between you and several players mentioned it as well, the lack of physicality, especially with the way you want to give guys a break during the week and not overwork them. How do you coach that? How do you correct that as opposed to something?
I don't think those are tied together, and I think the specifics of what our players and I was talking about was more the finish. I don't think the initial at the line of scrimmage. Our biggest negative in the game was at the end of the play. We always talk about committing and competing at above the 2.3 threshold, and that's something that we've done a very good job of throughout this year, and that was not the case yesterday. So we just got to get back to it.
Mike, coming out of a game like yesterday, there's always, when a game has gotten away and there's no way to win late, players and coaches have no problem keeping the starting quarterback in and finishing what you started and talking about the culture of that. Well, so many fans and media will go, well, what in the world are you doing? Get the quarterback out. Can you just talk about the risk reward that you weigh there and the culture versus everything else going forward on why you make those decisions?
Well, I don't think there's just a straight get him out or keep him in. I think I made this clear yesterday. The reason why we stayed with our players, particularly, I mean, we didn't play a whole lot in the third quarter. So, and 2 minutes is something that we've been trying to spend as much time on as possible. So, frankly, it was risk assessment, and it was accepted risk, and just really paying it forward. So, if we would have had a chain of events that totally lined up for us at the end of the fourth quarter, it would have been one of those games that you'd be talking about for the next 20 years. But that obviously wasn't the case. But yeah, I said it right on the headsets. We're going to stay. I want 2 minute, wide open. Well, we need to work, and that was the plan.
Like I said, I think you only had the ball for 5 minutes and 43 seconds in the second and third quarter combined.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, in the final, 41? They had it over 41 minutes. So.
Like you mentioned, the end of the play was the biggest negative for you. Was there an extra emphasis this week on stripping the football? It seemed like there was more focus on that than there was on finishing the tackle.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's there's a pattern to it, and there's a teaching method to it. It's more about the second player in. It's you don't want to pass up the tackling position or opportunity, just for the stripping, and the tracking and the spacing, and it's really the combination of the other guy too. It's the pursuit and finish. If you take a stopwatch and you just watch a football play, just put a stopwatch on it and at 2.3, see where the play's at, and that's where we were not very good. It was 2.3 and above. So that's where the big plays come. Broken tackles, long runs. I think they had six rushes for 130 plus yards. So, the rest of it was 32 rushes. I think what it was. So, the big plays got us. So, and it was more not accelerating at above the 2.3.
Where did that come from? Is that something that you've just watched throughout your coaching career, or is that like kind of universal in all of?
No, that was something that I've done for I don't know how many years. I think it's like anything when you talk about your 6 fundamentals of Cowboys football, you got to define them. So when you talk about your defense and your coverage teams need to pursue and finish, well, define that. What does that look like? How do you train it? So if you put a stopwatch to it, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's no different on the other side of it. You got when you're carrying the football in the offense or in a return game, one guy carries it, the other 10 are covering the ball. So it's all about the football. And there's 3 stages to every football play. There's the pre-snap, there's the 2.3, and there's the above the 2.3. That's the way we've always broken it down.
After a game like that, a couple of guys said it yesterday, and it seems like players will say this when you get kind of thumped like that, quote, we needed that. What's your feeling on that? Do you believe that from time to time you kind of, quote unquote, need that to get your attention?
Oh, no, I don't believe in that at all. No, we didn't need that. I know I didn't need it. We didn't need that. We've been playing good football. So I understand the feeling of it, but there's other ways to get attention and refocus, and that's definitely not my preference.
Did you get the sense that Dak was looking for the grand slam home with no one on base a little bit? He was pressing a little bit to make some big plays at all? And not taking easy throws and kind of pressing it down the field?
I mean, it was a match man game. They do a great job of passing it off. Probably one of the better teams that we'll see all year doing that. And when you have opportunities where they run through the coverage out the back end, that's sometimes where the ball should go. So yeah, I don't think he went into the game. Actually, I know in my pregame meeting we actually talked about being patient with the shot plays. So no, I I didn't feel that. No, we had a couple launches down the field in extended plays, but I don't think that goes into the the initial decision-making process.
How did Elliott come out of that game physically?
He's not on the. I mean, yeah, I think he'll be fine. He'll be fine this week.
How did Terrence fare in his first game over at left tackle, and what can you guys do to continue to give him the support there?
Give him support. Well, I think another week's of practice, if needed over there, will definitely help. I thought he did some really good things. I thought technically he did some nice things that he can build off of. But yeah, it was, it wasn't a great day by no means for the whole line. Some guys played okay, but I think with another week's work, he'll be better.
Will you see Tyron this week, or is that still uncertain?
Still don't know. I'll let you know Wednesday, but we didn't get into Wednesday's practice yet.
Did that game make you guys want to reassess what you want to do at right tackle whenever you get Tyron back at all?
I think you answer that when you get to it. Yeah.
Mike, I think Fangio's quote was that regarding their defense, the success, that no one had played you correctly up until then. And Dak said, I hope everyone plays us like this the rest of the year. Where do you fall on that spectrum?
Well, this is a copycat league, and I just told the team this, so get ready. I hope they do too. Vic played us very aggressive, so that's good to hear him beating his own drum. It's, their linebacker depth. I mean, they had their linebackers at 3 yards, and safeties were up. And usually that's that case should make their corners tackle, but. Yeah, it's they played us aggressive. They went for it, and I think you want that from the other team. So I agree with Dak.
Can you speak to your aggressiveness on fourth down, especially earlier in games, and even this season? I think your 14 attempts lead the league, and you definitely lead the league in the first quarter of games with 4-down tries. Why do you want to come out in those situations aggressive?
I think it's more than that. I mean, it's not just it's fourth down. You're talking about 4th and 1, 4th and 2. We were in very favorable down and distance, throughout our opportunities there early. So, I mean, 4th and 1 and 4th and 2, I have great confidence in our offense. So, I don't necessarily look at going for it on 4th and 1 as being aggressive. So, but if that's the way the stats line up, then I'm fine with the aggressiveness of it.
The early fourth downs, the field position y'all were getting back to them wasn't particularly risky, but how much do you factor in the momentum they get? I know the Broncos talked after the game about feeling fired up and disrespected by those attempts.
Disrespected?
That's what they said.
Yeah, I mean, it's 4th and 1. We're trying to score. We're trying to extend the drive. They went to a 6-1 front that we call it. So I mean, we were out leveraged on that particular play. So they had a better defense called and. Then we had offense on that particular call. So, I mean, that's football. It doesn't happen very often, particularly to us at home. But I mean, 4th and 1, 4th and 2, and really, I think if you break it down, I think we had 7 attempts in 3rd or 4th and 2 or less, and I think we were 2 out of 7. So, I think that's a big part of the story for us on offense.
With Trayvon the last couple of weeks, where do you put his confidence, or what has happened with him? I think even on the touchdown, he seemed like he was in decent position, but it was a good throw, good catch. Yeah, no, it was a heck of a throw. Excellent catch. But I think like anything, there's people have film on him now. He's seeing more crossing routes, more and more each week. The deep crossers. So, and anyway, they're matching, particularly in the tight formations. So that was the throw you're talking about. It's a vertical. That's football. I mean, it's a 50-50 ball, excellent catch. And really, I really like the throw. I thought the angle of the throw was tough to defend. Do they use his aggressiveness against him at all, or his eyes against him? You talked about that earlier in the season. Watch where his eyes were on this pick.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's all part of the basics of football. The eye discipline. Make sure you have your eyes in the right place, but the vision component of it. Seeing the right things. But as you stated, he was in pretty good position, and right at the catch point there, the receiver got a little separation, and that was probably the difference in the play.
Earlier in the year, when he was on the streak of 7 interceptions, we asked you about balancing that confidence with the risk assessment. Do you almost have to go the other way with him now and remind him to still have the confidence even if he's let up the plays, or does he have that anyway?
No, I think just like anything, I mean, confidence is such a big part of being successful in this league, and that's why we work the way we do. So, no, we're not going to change the way we're playing. He's not going to change the way he's playing. I mean, he's probably a little too aggressive right now. I think some of his penalties reflect that. So, I mean, that's really the focal point of what we want to improve on for him. But, I by no means do I want him to lose his aggressiveness. That's a big part of who he is.
Just to circle back to the 2.3-second thing real quick, what's the teaching point now in terms of how to be better with 2.3 and up?
I mean, it's how we train. I mean, we've trained that way since I arrived here. So it's 2.3 is the extended plays. I mean, if you just take a normal outside zone run play and if you freeze it right at 2.3, everybody's going to be fitted in their gap. And so, to me, that's where the real money's at into play. Defensively, if you're stopping the play before 2.3, then it's probably a big play for the defense. It's probably a tackle for loss. So that's all part of our training. That's how we break down our cut-ups. It's part of our evaluation process. So there's nothing to redo or rethink. I mean, it's no different than the way we do ball drills. It's part of our everyday practice component.
On the punt play, when it's deflected like that, are players just told to, hey, scatter, get the heck away from the ball?
I mean, it's crazy. Yeah, John and I went through it this morning. I think there's 3 in the last 10 years. And unfortunately, I've been part of 2 of them. So the one was Baltimore, Green Bay. So, you can see where Nashawn, I mean, I think it was blocked on the 17-yard line. He's on the 18, and he reacts to it. So I agree with you. You like to see the rule change, but, what are you going to do?
You said Zeke came out of the game okay. Were there any other injury or COVID updates today?
Nothing to report, no.
Michael Gallup, what do you anticipate of his status this week for you?
He'll be full practice Wednesday, and, hopefully he has another great week. So.
And the other guy, Gallimore and DeMarcus, do you anticipate any on-field work for those guys this week?
Yeah, DeMarcus is on. I mean, he's on the field with Britt, if that's what you're referring to. Yeah.
No, not starting his window.
Oh no, not start the window this week. No, I don't anticipate that.
Tristan Hill, where's he kind of?
He'll be similar to Michael.
Is he up now this week? Is there a particular day where you have to make a call on Tristan?
Depends on exactly what day we started. I don't know that totally offhand, but he obviously has 3 weeks. Yeah.
What did you like about how Mike and Osa got to the quarterback yesterday, or at least went 3 points?
I mean, I think those guys are, obviously for rookies are doing a really good job. But, they've been playing enough football that, I think the overall standard, Micah was productive, but, he's, I think the whole defense as a whole would tell you that we didn't perform well enough, in the later part, the finish of each play. So good to see their production, but definitely can improve.
Thank you.
Thank you.